Introduction. Hello, everyone, welcome back to our channel. Today, I will be your guide again for this video. In the previous episode, we covered how to enable, create, edit, and run macros in PowerPoint, as well as how to save the file. In this episode, we will delve deeper and learn how to create, edit, delete, and run macros using keyboard shortcuts, the Developer tab, and the Visual Basic Editor, VBE. In PowerPoint, you can reach the same screen or perform the same tasks using different tabs, buttons, or menus. However, we will discuss only the major methods, as mentioning all would be too cumbersome and confusing. Let's get started. Keyboard shortcuts. One quick way to use macros is through keyboard shortcuts. As we mentioned in the previous video, you can click the View tab and then click Macros to activate the macro dialog box. This dialog box can also be opened by pressing Alt F8. Furthermore, you can open the Visual Basic Editor by pressing Alt F11. Then, you can navigate to the Insert tab and click Module to insert a new module where you can create your macros. To run a macro, simply click anywhere within its VBA code and press F5. Developer tab. When talking about macros and VBA, many people suggest using the Developer tab, which may be hidden in the PowerPoint interface. Using it might seem a bit cumbersome and unnecessary for beginners. But after knowing the easy ways to create and use macros, it may be beneficial to know about the Developer tab too, as it provides some tools for creating and managing macros and may improve convenience in your workflow. The Developer tab isn't displayed by default. If the Developer tab isn't visible in the ribbon, you can enable it by following these steps. Click on File and then Options. In the Options dialog box, click on Customize ribbon. On the right side of the dialog box, under Main tabs, find and check the box for Developer. Click on OK to save your changes. Now, you should see the Developer tab in your ribbon. To open the familiar Visual Basic Editor window where you can write and modify your macros, click on the Developer tab and then click on Visual Basic. The VBE should appear on your screen. Project Explorer. In the Visual Basic Editor, VBE, of PowerPoint, one of the key components is the Project Explorer. This is typically located on the left side of the VBE interface. If it's not immediately visible, you can bring it up by navigating to the View menu and selecting Project Explorer, or simply by pressing Ctrl-R. The Project Explorer serves as a roadmap to all the elements of your VBA environment. It provides a hierarchical view of the different components of each VBA project, including the PowerPoint files that are currently open. Each open PowerPoint file is represented as a separate project in the Project Explorer. The name of the project typically matches the name of the PowerPoint file. When you double-click on a project name in the Project Explorer, it expands to reveal the various components associated with that project. By navigating through these components in the Project Explorer, you can easily access and manage your VBA code within the PowerPoint environment. Insert, rename or remove module. In the Project Explorer, you can right-click on the project name, which represents an open PowerPoint file, and select Insert Module to add a new module. This action opens the familiar code window where you can write and modify your macros. In the Project Explorer, you can rename a module. The first step is to find the module you want to rename and select it. Then, navigate to the Properties window pane. If you don't see this window, you can access it by selecting View from the top menu, followed by Properties window. Alternatively, you can press F4 to display it. In the Properties window, the first property listed is the Name property. This is where you can edit the module name. If a PowerPoint file has an existing module that you no longer need, you can remove it in the Project Explorer. To do this, you can right-click on the module name under the project and select Remove Module. Please note that removing a module will delete all the macros it contains, so you should only do this if you're sure you no longer need these macros. Always remember to save your file before making any significant changes like this. Running macros. There are several ways to run a macro in PowerPoint. One way is to use the macro dialog box. In the previous video, we mentioned that you can click the View tab and then click Macros to activate the macro dialog box. Then, you can find the macro and click Run. Actually, the same macro dialog box can also be activated in the Developer tab by clicking Macros, so you can use it in the same way. Another way to run a macro is to use the Visual Basic editor. In the Developer tab, click Visual Basic. This will open the VBE window where you can see your macros. You can select the macro from the drop-down menu on the right, then press F5 or click Run Sub, User Form on the menu bar to run it. Open Visual Basic Editor. To summarize, the VBE can be launched using one of the following ways. 1. In the macro dialog box, select any macro and click Edit. 2. Press Alt F11. 3. On the Developer tab, click Visual Basic. In the VBE, if multiple PowerPoint files which have modules are open, the module that is currently open in the code window on the right is the one you are using. You can identify the name of the file and module you are currently working on by 1. Looking at the title bar of the code window. It shows the module name and the project name, which is the same as the file name. 2. Clicking on the File menu and viewing the details, you will see Save followed by the file name and Remove followed by the module name. Deleting modules or macros. Sometimes, you may want to delete macros that you no longer need or use. This can help you keep your macro list clean and organized. There are 3 ways to delete macros: using the macro dialog box, using the Visual Basic editor, and using Save As. 1. Macro dialog box. Using the macro dialog box is the easiest and quickest way to delete macros. You may follow these steps. On the View or Developer tab, click Macros. Select the macro that you want to delete from the list. Click Delete on the right side of the dialog box. Confirm when prompted. 2. Visual Basic Editor. Using the VBE is a more comprehensive and thorough way to delete macros. You can access all the macros that are stored in modules and even delete the entire modules that contain macros. However, removing modules requires more caution. You have to make sure that you are deleting the target macros, without deleting any macro that you want to keep. Always remember to save your file before making any important changes. If you want to delete a macro using the Visual Basic Editor, you can find it from the VBA codes, or select the macro from the drop-down menu on the right. Then highlight the code lines of the macros that you want to delete, starting with sub macro name and ending with end sub. Then press Delete on your keyboard. To delete a module using the Visual Basic Editor, follow these steps. Click on the File menu. Select Remove Module Name. As mentioned above, existing modules can be removed in the Project Explorer too. After deleting the modules or macros, press Ctrl S to save the file. 3. Save as PPTX. To delete all macros from a PowerPoint file, you can save it as a different format that does not support macros. Follow these steps. On the File tab, click Save As. Choose a location and a file name for your new file. In the Save As type list, select PowerPoint Presentation, PPTX, as the file type, as it does not support macros. This will create a new file without macros, as all macros from the original file will be removed automatically. However, this method also has some drawbacks. This new file will lose all the macros and also some features or functionality that depend on those macros. That's it for this video. I hope you found it helpful and informative. You can find more information in the description part of this video. If you like it, please give a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Thank you for watching and see you next time.